Hi, good evening, everyone. My name is Ariel Herrera, and this is Parallel B reporting for Module 2, Part 6 of 11. This is for approaches in communication for development. So for Part 6 of 11, I'll be discussing on the following topics. Topic 1 will be on development communication. Topic 2 will be on development support communication, or DSC. And Topic 3 will be on diffusion of innovations, or the innovation decision process. So what is development communication? In 1997, Cabral mentioned that this is the art and science of human communication that is linked to society's planned transformation from a state of poverty to that of a dynamic socio-economic growth that makes for a greater equity. Of course, it refers to money, and then a larger unfolding of an individual's potential. Now, communication for development involves dialogue using a broad range of tools and methods. So it is also about seeking change at different levels, and it includes listening, building trust, sharing knowledge and skills, building policies, debating and learning for sustained and meaningful change. Now, in 1995, Cervantes somehow used this Laswell classic formula: who says what, through which channel, to whom, and with what effect. For development communication, it encompasses a lot of activities. But to make it short, here are the 6 scope of practices for development communication. The first one is media, materials, design, and production. So this is creating engaging content across various formats. We can use print, digital, audio, and visual. And we tailor the messages for specific platforms and audiences in order to maximize the impact. Second one is policy formulation and analysis. So this is informing and advocating for policies that support social change and development goals. Third one is interpersonal communication. So this is facilitating direct two-way dialogue for community engagement and trust building. Fourth is research, scholarly and communication. So this is conducting formative, process, and summative research to understand the needs and context. Fifth, strategic planning and management. So this is developing comprehensive communication strategies with clear goals and objectives. Last but not the least is networking and facilitation. This is building and maintaining partnerships among diverse stakeholders. Stakeholders can be from the government, from NGOs, and others. So let's go to the second topic, which is the development support communication, or the DSC. So as defined by the United Nations FAO, this is the systematic utilization of communication channels and techniques to increase people's participation in project development. The primary goal of this DSC is to inform, motivate, and train rural populations, particularly those at the grassroots level. So the DSC is characterized by a detailed 11-step workflow that aligns with a generic 5-stage process: assessment, planning, materials, preparation, implementation, and evaluation. We can discuss the specific steps on the next slide. The DSC workflow has 2 phases. The first phase is the planning phase, and this is focused on gathering the intelligence necessary to ground the development project into reality. So for this, we are going to discuss on the 6 steps for planning. First step involves assessment. So what are the problems and the requirements of the target community? Second step, setting development project and objectives. So what are the non-communication goals of the development project that must be established? Third step, situation analysis. So what does the environment on which a project will operate on? So we should be considering factors such as social, political, and economic factors that may influence the success of the project. The fourth step, this is audience analysis. So what are the audience's characteristics? What is their current knowledge? And what are their attitudes? Fifth step, this is setting of the DSC objectives. So what specific objectives must be met by the DSC? Example, are we here to inform, motivate, and train the population? So those are some of the questions that need to be answered. Step number 6. This is about the message design and channel strategy. So it is in this stage that the developers decide what to say and how to say it. So it involves selecting the appropriate communications channel, such as interpersonal channels, mass media, indigenous media, to effectively reach out and engage the rural audience. Okay, so after step 6, let's dive into the phase 2 of the DSC workflow, which is the execution and review. So on step 7, this refers to the pre-testing of the prototype materials. So the project is moved from the planning phase into active development. Communication specialists will then create prototype versions of the messages and materials that were designed in step 6. After that, it is step 8, which is the final production. So after the feedback from the audience had been given, so the prototypes will be refined and then the final versions will be produced. Step 9 will be the delivery and monitoring. So this is the active implementation phase where the communication strategy is launched. Step 10 is impact evaluation. So this is checking if the communication strategy, the communication campaign that has been set active for a set period of time is successful or not. And the last step is the review and replanning. So this is the final step in the workflow, and this ensures that the DSC is just not a one-time event, but a continuous systematic process. So from this slide, we can definitely see that the DSC workflow breaks down the generic phases or models into specific actions. We now come to the last topic, which is about the diffusion of innovations. So this is a theory by Everett Rogers, 1971, that explains how a new service, a new product, new ideas are spread through a population over time. So the model distinguishes between two levels of the same process. So the diffusion happens at two levels. One at an individual level, which is the innovation decision process. And this is the single person psychological journey. The other one is the diffusion at a social system level. So this is an aggregate of individual decisions to create a wider trend within a social system. An individual goes through several mental processes when assessing a new innovation. So there are 4 processes. They are knowledge, persuasion, decision, and confirmation. So for the first process would be knowledge, and this is about exposure to the existence of the new innovation or product. So they first learn about the innovation and they make use of their 5 senses. Second is persuasion. They form a favorable or unfavorable attitude towards the new product, new innovation, or new service. Third is on the decision. This is engaging in activities that will lead to a choice to adopt or reject the innovation. And the last one will be on confirmation. This is seeking reinforcement on the decision that was made. So the adoption of the new innovations, new products and services are influenced by several characteristics. So the first one is relative advantage. Will the new technology or innovation or practice be better? Second, compatibility. Is it consistent with existing cultural beliefs, values, and past experiences? Third, complexity. Is it easy or difficult to use? Fourth, trialability. How long will the community or the person do a test drive on the new product or innovation? Fifth is observability. Are the results visible to others or not? Sixth is divisibility. So for this, will the users need to adopt the whole innovation or can they use it in portion or in increments? Seventh is availability. Is the product or service or innovation physically accessible to the target audience? And last but not the least, it's the most important actually, it's the cost. Is the new innovation affordable to the community? So these are the factors that need to be taken into consideration. So we have come to the last segment of this presentation. So far, we have discussed on three topics. First one is on development communication. Second was on development support communication, or DSC. And the last one was on the diffusion of innovations. So this is for the discussion forum questions, so feel free to answer them during your free time. So the first one is, in the innovation decision process, different communication channels have varying levels of influence. So the question is, why are interpersonal channels considered more impactful during the persuasion and decision stages than mass media, which is primarily effective for the initial knowledge stage? Second is, why is step 7, pre-testing of prototype materials, considered a critical safeguard in the DSC workflow before moving to final multimedia production? So thank you very much for listening and viewing this video presentation. And once again, have a great day to everybody. Bye-bye.